I have my own opinions about polyamory, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer to be in a monogamous relationship, considering the time and age that we're in, right? I think polyamory it's a better substitute for infidelity, unless you have something, unless there's something about cheating, that actual act of doing something you're not supposed to be doing, that acts the kink, I think I'd rather be with someone in an open relationship who I know that, okay, you're going to be with somebody else while I'm not there and things like that, as opposed to you cheating behind me. Hence why I'm open to that conversation. But a lot of Christians would think that's sinful. And then also the whole sex before marriage. I have my own totally different opinions about that. I think sex after marriage, or saving yourself for marriage, thinking that is the norm, that to me sounds absurd in my opinion. I think you need to test drive the engine before
you know
what I mean? You sign the dotted line, because
what do they say? You try the milk first before you buy the cow.
Exactly. You're gonna be.
It's terrible to think about other people as cows.
But I mean, in the spirit of pragmatism, that's basically what it is. This is the person that you're supposed to ride or die till. Basically, if you and your partner or your spouse are 60 years old and you got married at 20, that's 40 years you've lived with them more than your parents, if that makes sense.
Right.
So don't you want to be as intentional as possible to sign these dotted line with this person?
The commitment has to be like you're in or you're out. To taste the milk.
Yeah. You gotta taste the milk. Make sure it's got the amount of fat that is necessary.
2%. I like the 2% cows.
I like 3. What do you know about Nietzsche?
Lots of stuff.
Friedrich
I've read lots
Nietzsche.
of his books. He's great. Yeah, what do you want to know about him?
So one of the things I found about
he's super controversial.
He is.
Anything I say, the comments are gonna be like, he's wrong. Nietzsche didn't mean it that way.
Yeah,
no matter what I say.
I remember before I actually started taking the philosophy program at HBU, I was doing a little bit of research and I came across Friedrich Nietzsche. I'm like, who is this guy? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things about him. Didn't he not believe in God or something like that?
Yeah, well, he was the philosopher that said God is dead.
Yeah, God is dead. Yes, I think there's actually a book about that as well. Something about there's no God or something like that.
Yeah, he wrote one book where he's very critical of Christianity. It's called The Antichrist.
The Antichrist,
which is him. He's like, I'm the Antichrist.
I've been called the Antichrist.
Yeah. Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Really?
I was so honored.
Who called you that?
Someone. It's not the first time Nigerians think so horrible of me because of how I am like some of the things I say don't necessarily align with.
You seem so extreme.
I try not to let it get in my head and pump my ego, but it felt right. It felt good.
Thank you. I'm
the table shaker. But unless you have something that Nietzsche is very big on, I do want to talk about nihilism.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you have something else.
No, let's do it.
So what is nihilism? Tell her.
Oh, well, okay. So there's like nihilism the way most people talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's Nietzsche's version of nihilism.
Okay.
So the way most people talk about nihilism is this view that nothing really matters. There's no real value. There's no real purpose.
Okay.
Right. And so, if you want to act as though there's purpose or meaning, that's up to you. But it's just an act. There isn't any real meaning or purpose there for us to find. Now, some people say, well, okay, but we can make purpose. Okay? And so those people those are existentialists. Right? They're going to create value. They're going to create meaning through acts of choice, of creativity, and so on. But a nihilist would just say, all that's made up. You're just, imagining the future. So there's a nihilist. Who was the character on that show? The grumpy doctor, Dr. House. I don't know if you ever watched the show. That has that British actor that had the American accent, fooled everybody. They thought he was American. Anyway, but he's a nihilist. He says something like, when someone asks about human beings, he's like, well, humans are just these creatures crawling across the face of an uncaring planet, and on a good day they avoid killing each other. And you're like, that's it. There's no meaning past that.
Sounds very Schopenhauer.
Yeah. So when someone says, there's they're a nihilist. They mean something like they don't believe in anything. Nothing's true. Now, what Nietzsche means by nihilism is the destruction of, it's like the destruction of categories that are there in nature. So, take human beings, okay? Human beings, and this is Nietzsche, okay? Human beings, there is a natural hierarchy that occurs between them.
Okay.
You have better humans and worse humans. Noble and common.
Okay.
Elite and, peasants or the rabble or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's different moralities for each one. They care about different things. And some are more important than others. Now, imagine a belief system that tried to destroy all of those differences and said everybody's the same. We're all equal. Maybe we're all bad, like we're all sinners, And so then we all need to apologize all the time for everything we've ever done or thought. And basically you've got like the tall stalks and the short ones, and we're just going to cut everything off at the same point. And so what we've done is we've taken human beings, this proud species, something that should be maybe like the most glorious predator of any species on the planet, and we've turned them into like a bunch of cows, or sheep. That's what people say now. Like they're like, oh yeah, we're just a bunch of sheep. Have no agency. We have no achievement. We're just chewing the grass and waiting to get butchered by someone else.
Uncle Sam.
Yeah, yeah, depending. So then what that belief system would have done is made human beings into nothing. And so that, he says, is nihilism. Nihilism is this belief system that flattens all of the hierarchies, makes everybody equal, makes us our own enemies. Like we look in the mirror and we're guilty, feel, like our good fortune is something that we didn't earn, that we need to repent and all this other stuff.
So he's anti that then?
Yeah, because what is this belief system? It's Christianity.
Oh, I see. Okay, so he's
nihilist. He says Christianity.
He's an anti-nihilist.
Christianity is nihilism.
I see. So it sounds like he's more so pushing for humans tapping into their natural eccentric natures, because humans, to me, are naturally inherently eccentric, in your own way, which is different from mine, so on and so forth. So we need to cater to all of that as opposed to just putting everyone under the same.
So he has this view of like, what are the instincts of life? So the instincts of life are things like the will to dominate others, to win, right? To like defeat the other person and feel that thrill of victory. Right? There's that. There's the desire for procreation. There's the desire for revenge. These are all like what it means to be alive, right? And we see this in the animal kingdom. This is what the animals do. They fight each other. They reproduce. When one lion displaces another one and takes over the pride, and they puff themselves up, they won. They feel the victory, and that victory is what enables them to continue the species. So think about this, right? So the desire for revenge, desire to procreate, the desire to win, to dominate others. Christianity calls all these sins.
So is he advocating for those being okay?
Yeah.
Oh.
And they should be, right? Because that's what life is. Again, this is his argument. Right? That's life. If you have a philosophy that says those are bad, or you're the enemy, those are the enemy, well, you're just the enemy of life. Why should we be listening to that? Right? Like, anybody in their right mind, when they heard, Christianity talking about like, blessed are the poor and sell all you have and give it away, and right. Of course, I remember I'm caricaturing a little bit because this is Nietzsche's view. Yeah. And like any right-thinking society, when it hears that stuff, you have to reject that view. Yeah. And the empire tried to, right? The Christianity was illegal for a long time. Good for them, right? Again, this is Nietzsche. So, but Christianity takes over, and now it's the enemy of life. So, if Christianity was allowed to stay in its full force, Nietzsche thinks civilization would have been over. So, I mean, keep in mind, Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount says, if your right eye offends you, right, and if your right eye causes you to lust, what does he say? Take it out. It's better to walk through life half blind than to be thrown into hell. If your right hand offends you, chop it off. You have some early Christian ascetics that are chopping things off in order to obey the command not to lust. Right? So let's say a society really does buy that.
That's painful.
What happens to that society? Is there a next generation?
Yeah.
No, right?
Yeah.
What causes the next generation to happen is people lusting after each other. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't have that, there's no children.
Yeah.
Right? So we got to somehow rescue lust from the Christians. And so what he says, what happens is that you've got society creates this whole new thing where they can smuggle lust back in to society to in order for society to be saved.
Prostitution?
No, love. Right? So think about it, right? So you go to a wedding. Do you go to weddings? Do you like weddings?
Yeah, sure. I've been to a couple.
I kind of enjoy them. Right? They're really
Okay.
fun. What are we celebrating?
They're pretentious, but yeah.
They are truly.
Yeah.
The veil, man, who we're joking with here, yeah. But what are we celebrating with a wedding? What is this party about? What is it really about?
Show people how awesome we are. I don't know.
No.
Depends.
No. What's a wedding really about?
Well, I go to Nigerian weddings. It's supposed to be a union, right?
Yeah. What kind of union?
Between a man and a woman.
Go on.
Oh, sex.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a party celebrating sex.
Sex, yeah. Well,
right? It's like these two people.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop themselves. They're gonna, in order to have sex with each other
They
and be legit, right? Not
yeah.
hidden away where you're not supposed to do this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
In order to be legit, they're gonna promise each other all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna love you forever and all that stuff.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
In order to make the sex legitimate.
Look
And then,
palatable in a Christian world. Yeah, okay.
So everyone's gonna dance around the party. We're all gonna, toast the bride and groom. And what this is a sex party.
Yeah.
Right? We're celebrating those two people having sex.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we cover it over. We don't want to admit this to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because if we did, it would be a little weird.
Yeah.
A little scandalous. So we say, well, it's really about love. Right? It's joining of these two lives. It's like it's a joining of these two bodies.
We know what they're going to be doing later tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I was at this one wedding where... a lot of times you'll have the wedding venue and then you go to the reception. Right? Yeah. So wedding happens, everything's fine. Yeah. And then everyone goes to the reception. So it gets to the reception and the bride and groom show up, about 15 minutes later, and like they're clearly adjusting their clothes and stuff. It's like,
oh my God.
Already? In the limo, like, oh, we're here, we're now married. So this was like a couple that would have, saved themselves for marriage, abstinence before, and all that stuff, right? A conservative couple, but hey, now it's okay.
In the name of God.
Yeah. They were naked and not ashamed. Yeah. As it says in Genesis. So they come out, everyone kind of knows what happened, but no one's scandalized by it.
Okay.
Why would they be, right? Because that's what we're all here to celebrate. Yeah. These two people having sex.
Okay, so
So we rescue sex. We rescue lust.
So who's the we? The society?
Society.
Because they came to find out that the Christian extremist way is just not it's not pragmatic enough.
Well, yeah. So I mean, think about the other parts. Like, okay, revenge. Okay. What kind of country is like, oh, if we're invaded, we need to turn the other cheek?
Literally no one.
Yeah. What happens to that country?
Dead.
Yeah,
Obliterated.
Yeah, it's just gonna be taken over. So we need to somehow save revenge. Yeah. So what are we going to call it? We're going to call it self-defense. We're going to call it just war theory.
Okay, so it seems like what he is advocating for is pragmatism then.
Yeah.
Which is what I do as well. I talk about like, okay, there are certain behaviors. Okay, let me ask this first before I jump into how I feel like I possibly align with what he's saying. So Christianity, he is anti-Christian.
Yes.
Okay, so in replacement for that, what is he pushing for law? Is there some type of law or order?
We should rewrite morality.
We should rewrite it.
Yeah.
In a lawful way or just laissez-faire?
No, we should rewrite it to help or to be more aligned with nature, with life.
Which incorporates lust,
revenge, dominance, so on and so forth. Right. So if we do that, so it's not saying like, anarchy, right? Maybe marriage is great.
Okay.
Like there's this opera about it's called Luther's Wedding.
Okay.
Right. So Martin Luther is the reformer in Germany. He's a former monk. Monks had to take vows of celibacy. Uh-huh. But when he leaves the Catholic Church to start a new movement, and it's like, wait, there's nothing in the Bible about monks needing to be celibate. Mm-hmm. He gets married. He marries a former nun. Okay, so it's a wedding. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's an opera about it. So Nietzsche writes glowing things about this opera. Right, this wonderful acceptance of life, of beginning again, of throwing off the sort of ridiculous rules that didn't mean anything, and finding love in this unusual place, and having family, having children. So it's like, okay, maybe marriage is good because not because it sort of covers over lust, but maybe it channels lust in a really great way. So in order to do lust really well, like to not do it in like a crappy way where it's like just spread around and there's no focus to it, there's no consistency to it. It's like cheap lust. Why don't we do really good lust? And maybe the best way to do it is within a marriage. Maybe not. I don't know, right? But instead of creating love as a way to hide the fact that we're still valuing lust, why don't we make a set of rules or make a morality that celebrates lust and tries to bring it to its full expression, to its full flower?
And that is not pretending that we are not the animals that we are.
Exactly.
It's sort of like, okay, I get it. That's pragmatism.
It is a kind of pragmatism, but in the process, though, like I said, very anti-Christian.
Yeah, and that's why I've been called the Antichrist as well. Because
you've been too pragmatic?
Yeah, I am a pragmatist because a lot of the nonsense that I grew up being taught is just that, nonsensical, which is why you have all these happily married people, but they're cheating in the background. This is why I say like I have my own opinions about polyamory, for example, right? Mm-hmm. I would prefer to be in a monogamous relationship, and things like that.
Monogamy?
Yeah,
but kinky.
So kinky, but considering the time and age we're in, right? I think polyamory it's a better substitute for infidelity, unless you have something, unless there's something about cheating, that actual act of doing something you're not supposed to be doing, that adds to the kink. I think I'd rather be with someone in an open relationship who I know that, okay, you're going to be with somebody else while I'm not there and things like that, as opposed to you cheating behind me. Hence why I'm open to that conversation. But a lot of Christians will think that's sinful, or the whole conversation. It's usually
the lies that are the really painful part.
Yeah, but Christians will tell you that, you should stick to one person and, things like that. And I said, no, there's nothing wrong with that, but not everyone is about that life. You know what I mean? And then also the whole sex before marriage and things like that. I have my own totally different opinions about that. I think sex after marriage, or saving yourself for marriage, and thinking that is the norm, that to me sounds absurd in my opinion, right? I think you need to test drive the engine before you drive the car before you know what I mean? You sign the dotted line, because
what do they say? You try the milk first before you buy the cow.
Exactly. You're gonna be.
It's terrible to think about other people as cows.
But I mean, in the spirit of pragmatism, that's basically what it is. This is the person that you're supposed to ride or die till. Basically, if you and your partner or your spouse are 60 years old and you got married at 20, that's 40 years you've lived with them
Yeah.
without, more than your parents, if that makes sense.
Right.
So don't you want to be as intentional as possible to sign these dotted line with this person,
Yeah.
and make sure that you're compatible sexually included.
Think of it like this. I think, so this is going to sound a little weird, but I think, I know, right? Check the time. This is going to sound a little weird, but I think we put way too much emphasis on sex.
Yeah, I was just saying that the other day.
Way too much. And so it's like, it becomes something where that's the main thing about you, right? Like when I look in the mirror, what do I see? Do I see, a dad or someone who, reads a lot or whatever, Instead, it's like, no, I'm supposed to look at myself as like, I'm someone who, what do they call it? Like the cis heteronormative, right? Like, so I'm someone who falls in love with women and wants to have sex with women. And that's who I am. That's really that's the most important thing about me is that. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Or then in a marriage, it's like the most important thing, the thing that makes this marriage worthwhile is that we, out of all the sexual partners that I've had, this is the best one. It's like, really?
Is it really?
That is the answer?
But that's what Christianity, a lot of people pretend in the name of Christianity. And I'm saying that does not work.
No one should be pretending, right? The pretend thing is, why would anybody, why is that good? If you start pretending, you start to believe it yourself, and then now you're pretending to yourself, right?
Okay.
So let's not do the pretend thing, right? Again, this is Nietzsche's take on Christianity.
Okay.
Right? I don't think it's real Christianity. If I was convinced that Nietzsche's version of Christianity was the real Christianity, I wouldn't want to be Christian. Right? It sounds terrible, right? So I think Christianity actually does celebrate the beauty of physical love, physical attraction between people. But I think it's wrong for us to say that's what makes a marriage, is that you're having the best sex.
Yeah.
Right? What makes a marriage is a commitment to be family to the other person.
Yeah.
One of my best friends used to say, and he'd been married for a good while, he was the same age, but he'd been married for almost 20 years. So he was texting me the other day, he'd passed the point where he had been married for longer than he'd been single. In his early 40s. He got married real young and they'd been married. And he said marriage is a commitment, so people change. And so marriage is a commitment to be with the other person while they change.
No matter what.
Right? So you're there to enjoy the change with them. Whatever that change is. And sometimes, but this is the thing that we appreciate about family. So I have 2 brothers I'm very close with. And we've gone through all sorts of different things together. We've changed a lot since we were kids. And it's not like, oh, wow, I guess they're not my real brothers anymore because we're different than we were when we started.
Yeah.
It's like, no, now they're really my brothers because we've gone through all this together and we've become different people together.
Yeah.
So
that's unconditional love.
Yeah. So if you think about marriage as a commitment to be family to the other person, well then, the sex part is great, and you want it to make it you want that to be the best it possibly can be.
But it's not the focal point.
It's not the focal point, but it's in the way you want everything about that relationship to be the best it can. You want to be the most supportive of each other you can. You want to be the most devoted to each other's happiness that you can. You want to both be in the other person's corner for real, not just the other person's doing well, but when they're doing badly as well, to be there for them. And to do all that to the maximum. Well, that's the interesting part about marriage, I think.
Yeah.
So in that case, talking about the sex before marriage or test driving or whatever, it's like, well, if the really interesting part is the commitment, how are we supposed to test drive a commitment?
Yeah, well,
the commitment has to be you're in or you're out.
Yeah. Yeah, what I was talking about, of course, I was trying to also be funny. But test driving is
the taste the milk.
Yeah. You gotta taste the milk. Make sure it's got the amount of fat that is necessary.
2%. I like the 2% cows.
I like 3. But anyway, so my point of what I'm trying to say is, it takes a while to get to know someone.
True.
You need to integrate yourself with someone, because you have to understand you're coming from this walk of life, they're coming from this walk of life, especially if you were raised in different cultures, different countries, nationalities, and things like that. You have to find a way to integrate yourself in each other's lives, and that takes time, right? Body, mind, and spirit, right? Sex should not be the focal point, but it's also an important thing. People break up because of sex or lack of sex or too much sex or whatever it is, right? It has caused a problem. Like if you have a partner that has hypersexuality or whatever, and you're not able to match it becomes annoying, that kind of stuff. It could be a thing that could
today.
Exactly. It could be a thing that could create a crack, and over time that crack gets bigger, so I'm not going to just dismiss it as something that's so trivial. It's still very important, but it's not the focal point. So in the process of getting to know someone, I think two people coming together, right, whether it's a man and a woman, two men, two women, whatever, you're trying to form a union, a family unit. You need to be intentional in getting to know that person holistically. Now, if both of you, sex is trivial to both of you, then let it be. But to assume that, hey, you know what, everything else but this part, that's just, don't touch, don't do that. Like that, to me, that's absurd, right? If both of you are sexual beings and you want to explore your bodies, right, amongst other things that you're exploring together, don't get me wrong, it's not just the body, then I think you should. What is the point of exploring everything else and then getting to the wedding night or whatever it is, right? And then come to realize you're not really sexually compatible, right? We can sit
would
here.
be pretty tragic.
Exactly. Yeah. We can sit here and pretend, like, for example, a lot of women say size don't matter, size do matter. What if it's not a size that actually does matter to you? In the beginning, it may seem doable, but time will come when that crack will get bigger. Or, if it's a partner that likes a particular sexual act and you don't necessarily enjoy it that much, but they like that, you know what I mean? In the beginning, it may be doable, but after a while, he'll be on Bisexuality looking for...
Oh, no. That's kind of infamous now.
Right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. So, from my pragmatic view, like pretending that these human behaviors are not there is absurd. I think we need to lean into it and then come up with more pragmatic systems to include those, if that makes sense. So having these honest conversations like, hey, this is who I am. And you don't have to share this information with, your potential wife or husband on the first date, right? But like, this is who I am.
You show up for coffee. So just so you know,
I prefer this. If not, I'm gonna be on Bisexuality. Yeah, you know what I mean? But it takes time. Even the whole sexuality thing. A lot of people are, in my opinion, on a spectrum of bisexuality. A lot of men don't feel comfortable talking about these kind of things because of the homophobia that it could trigger. A lot of women were like, I don't really, that kind of. I don't want, to compete with men and women at the same time. All kinds of malarkey. I think leaning into it. Oh, it's a thing. Yeah, it's a real thing.
I don't want to compete with both.
Yeah. Like, would you rather, it's not going to, you're still going to be bisexual if he's bisexual. The difference is that you don't know, So if he's going to cheat on you, not that the fact that he's bisexual is going to definitely be definitively a reason for him to cheat on you. But if he's going to cheat on you, he'll still cheat on you anyway.
See, this is one of the things, and I don't know, we might wind up cutting this part out because it's so off topic. But it's something that I've always wondered. Maybe you can help me understand it. So I've heard this, that it's like, well, if a guy or a girl is bisexual, then they can't be satisfied with only one.
That's not true.
But I've heard this before.
That's not true. It
wouldn't be true, right? But how does this get started as a thing? Like, you will never be truly fulfilled unless you are having an active sex life with both types of people that you're attracted to.
That is a biphobic or homophobic mindset. That's sort of like,
this can't be right.
Yeah, that's sort of like, okay, you as a heterosexual man, right? You may find a blonde woman attractive. Maybe you mess around with a blonde woman at some point and red haired and all of that. Does that mean that you're going to cheat on your wife with a blonde or whatever? No, when you're with someone, you're committed to that person irrespective of whoever or whatever is around.
You're attracted to.
So if a man is going to cheat on you, he will cheat on you, period. Has nothing to do with sexuality.
See, this is what I always thought, but I was like, am I crazy? But Okay, you're confirming that I was not crazy then. So
Yeah.
I was like, how does that make any difference?
It doesn't
Someone's,
make
what
any
someone's
difference.
choices are, you know?
It's ignorance. It's a mentality that's filled with ignorance. But we're almost out of time. I do want to wrap up.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I see. I don't know enough of Nietzsche to know if I fully 100% align with what he's saying or not. But I can get why a lot of Christians, quote unquote, may find what he's saying problematic.
Well, and if your Christianity looks like what he's talking about,
I could also see that being problematic as well.
Yeah, it might be like, oh, he's critiquing me, you know. And like I said, I don't think he's right about Christianity, but I have met some people that seem kind of like the Christianity he's talking about. So maybe it's a temptation within the church.
I think this whole thing is one of the reasons why I walked away from religion, because there's too much rules and too much this and that. I believe that the truth courses through my soul. I don't need to go to the church. I don't need to go to a Buddhist monk. I don't need to do all of this stuff. I do know that some people possibly will need it, maybe, but me as an individual, I don't think I need it at this phase in my life. I think organized religion for me as an individual creates a lot more chaos and reinforces my distortion. So I just rather walk in silence on my own, because I believe in my ability to tap into that truth on my own. Still does not negate the fact that through organized religions, you're able to still tap into that noumena of what is. You know what I mean? So there's a possibility that that's what he is, he's arguing against. And a lot of my approach, I consider myself a hardcore pragmatist. A lot of things that a lot of Christians have said or try to interpret the Bible or whatever it is, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I try to be as intentional as possible to break it down as to how this doesn't make any sense. But you think it makes sense because, or at least you believe it makes sense because this is what was hammered in your head from when you were younger. But like, dude, you have a brain. You know what I mean? Use it.
You don't have to continue the same pattern.
You can still be Christian, love God, but you don't have to conform to literally 100% as this text was written by someone who was rotten in the grave from how many years ago, who doesn't even know how to use toilet paper, who doesn't even
Divinely inspired, though. Come on.
But that is there's still a level of fallibility that is, the human fallibility that's still represented in that divine inspiration. Yes, I'm divinely inspired if I'm being honest. Talking about this is divine inspiration, but there's still that human essence still, whether it's in the way I talk, my high pitch, low pitch, the way I use English verbiage wrongly and things like that. That part is human. But when you listen to what I'm saying with spiritual discernment, you can tap into that truth, that divine inspiration is what I'm saying. So yes, be Christian, read the Bible, but read it with your own spiritual discernment and not just tick the box because some divinely inspired guy from God knows what wrote God knows what. That's absurd to me.
If you ever want to invite me back on,
yeah, of course,
we should talk religion, like real, really walk through some of the differences that we have as far as I think it would be really interesting.
Of course.
So if you ever want to,
of course,
I would be all over that.
Oh, dude, I'll clear my schedule for you because philosophy, that's my thing. Anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Hemati.
Thank you, Jay.
I do not want this to go too long because I feel like with you and I will be here all day. Yeah. But this has been wonderful.
It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, thank you for coming. I know you got to go, but I want to wrap it up. I really do appreciate this, and I hope that we can do this again.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for your hospitality.
Thank you for coming. Before we leave, do you want to give people how to find your information and how to find you?
So I'm at Houston Christian University. So if you want to email me, my email is rhemati, RHEMATI at hbu.edu, and I welcome questions, of course, or I'll keep an eye on the comment section. Maybe I'll pop in.
This is the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please make sure to download, share with your friends and family. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Please also hit that bell notification so anytime I upload a video, you'll be notified right away. Please share your comments down below. I do want to hear what you guys have to. I want to hear you guys' opinion on everything we've talked about. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Follow me on all social media: TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter at LTAU with Uche. And my Instagram is UC_images. Thank you so much. Until next episode. Peace out.